Welcome to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. So I hope as you listen to the show, number one, you feel my passion about helping you change your perspective, especially on the word sales and growing your business in general, so you can clearly see that successful future that you deserve. Now, by incorporating little changes that we share on the show, whether they're my tips or my guest tips, I really hope that you start to create a huge impact in your life by implementing these little tips and strategies that we share with you. If you're loving the show, I would love for you to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast or YouTube. If you're a YouTube viewer, rate, review, subscribe, download, and share with your peeps. Share the love, because I love sharing the love with you guys. Also, if you leave comments, I actually read them and I do personally respond. You mean a lot to me, and I really want you to understand that I always respond from a heartfelt place. So as always, thank you so much for joining me. Now, my motivational quote today is by Arthur Ashe, and he says, "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can." So think about this for a second. Is it easy for you to maintain your weight and feel vibrant and energized every day? Or the flip side, do you feel like you're on that diet roller coaster, and you feel, my technical word, kind of icky every day? You know, our health is such an important component of us living a life we imagine and actually that we deserve. Yet healthy eating and exercise, they just don't always fit into our busy lives. So what do? Well, of course, I have an expert today. And my guest today is the wonderful Renee Jones. And Renee has a master's in marriage and family counseling and clinical residency. She spent 40 years, like most of us, on the diet yo-yo before getting free of emotional eating, maintaining her weight since 2012. Renee is a TEDx speaker and author of What's Really Eating You. So please help me welcome my wonderful, amazing guest, Renee, to the show. So Renee, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about today's topic. You know, in my intro, I'm all about sales, and I try to help people improve their communication with their clients and serve their clients. But here's the thing. If we feel like crap, it's kind of hard to be able to help anybody else external from us. So this is a really, really important, I think, topic for all of us humans, because, you know, our health is really important so that we can do more and serve more, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So first question, let's talk about what is emotional eating, how do we create it, and then how do we get on top of it and manage it?
Emotional eating is eating for any reason other than being hungry. It can be sad, it can be celebratory. But if you're eating just to feed something within you rather than hunger, that's emotional eating.
How do we, can you give examples? Well, let me tell you, already I can respond to that. So okay. When I have a really long day and I think, I deserve a piece of chocolate. Emotional eating, correct? Mm-hmm. Like, I deserve a reward, and that reward should be something sweet and chocolate and delicious. That's emotional eating, right? Yes. So how do you see with your clients that you work with, and after people reading your book, where do you find that most of the emotional eating comes from? Like, I just gave you an example, but yeah. Where do you see it? And then can you give us some ideas on how you help people manage that?
Sure.
Okay.
Most people go with the I deserve it, because I've been through something today. That's one of the primary things. Mm-hmm. A client texted me this morning. She'd had a very difficult conversation with her son. And she said, I managed to hold back from the food until dinner, and then I blew it. So you've got to find what's driving you to food for comfort or stress relief. And if you face that, one of my favorite phrases is, face your stuff. Don't stuff your face.
That's a good one.
That's what worked for me, honestly. That's what I kept saying to myself when I was trying to lose my weight. It was like, face your stuff, don't stuff your face. Because something within us is looking for comfort. It's looking for that stress relief. It's looking for whatever it needs. And if we find what that is and face it, deal with it, overcome that, you know, that that feeling awful when you're going to speak to someone, if you find, okay, where did that come from and why am I letting it run my life now, then you're much more likely to be able to go, you know what, I'm okay. I can be present in this moment. I can help this person understand what I have to offer them without all those niggling questions, right? The truth, Connie, is that we learn emotional eating almost from birth. Because when a baby cries, what do?
Feed them.
Yeah. We either put a bottle in their mouth or the breast or even a pacifier. In fact, I keep one of those right here, and when I was losing my weight, I taped this to my refrigerator just at my height, so that when I would go to the refrigerator, it was like, is that what you want? Yep, that's it. So then that would be my signal of, okay, what is it that I need? And unfortunately, we graduate from the bottle to maybe our thumb or nails or pizza. And that is what we keep repeating because it works. There is that oral soothing thing that works for us, and it's something we've always known. So this morning I said to my client, so what are your other options for soothing yourself? And make that your go-to. Because food is easy. It's so available and it's legal, right? You're not going to get arrested for eating. It's socially acceptable. Everybody gets that. I deserve this. And you do. You deserve the soothing. It just doesn't have to be in the form of chocolate.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the media, advertising, every time you turn around, there's some kind of commercial for food, for dessert, and even the healthy dessert you can indulge. They have this little piece of chocolate, Lindt chocolate, whatever it is. And I think to myself, one wouldn't do it for me. Right?
And most people can't.
Exactly.
Right? There's even a potato chip. You can't eat just one.
Yeah.
And that makes me want to go, watch me. I can just eat one. But for a lot of people, they're like, well, it's carte blanche. You can just eat as many as you want because nobody else can just eat one.
And they do put addictive ingredients into these
the
foods.
bliss point.
Yes.
Right? That perfect combination of salt, fat, and sugar.
Yes.
So you take nuts. Nuts are wonderful, right? But if my husband's mother sent home a large container of salted roasted nuts, and I said, no, take that upstairs. I don't want to see it because that is like my kryptonite. Because it's got lots of lovely fat and salt. Thankfully, she didn't buy the ones that are honey roasted. Right? So when he actually left and he brought it downstairs to put it in the pantry, and I thought, what is he doing to me? He's even going to be gone. So I put it in the sock drawer so I wouldn't see it.
So we play these head games. We literally have to play these head games with ourselves. So even you, since 2012, being on top of the yo-yo dieting and making these better choices, especially because you're knowledgeable in this. This is your world, Renee, right? That you're clinically, you have this scientific medical background to this, or to the psychology behind why we eat. And you still have, like you said, you put it in the sock drawer so you didn't see it. But now people are thinking, but I would know it was in the sock drawer. Then what do you do?
Well, see, you've got to know yourself. I knew myself better than to leave that in the pantry, right? It's just too tempting. There's something about the bliss point of salted roasted nuts that really gets to me, right? Now, I tell a story in the book about peanut butter. And for 18 months, I could not have peanut butter in the house because I just could not control myself. It was my connection to my mother and my grandmother, who had both passed away, you see. So it had an emotional connection for me. We have peanut butter. The dog loves it. So we have it in the house now, and it doesn't bother me anymore. But there's something about salted roasted nuts. I know I have to be careful. It's almost like an alcoholic.
See, and I know people listening are saying, "Oh, like I crave that slice of pizza, or I crave that piece of Boston cream pie, or I crave that donut." There is an addictive component to this, right?
Absolutely.
Psychologically. So if I'm hearing you right, not only are we learning from childhood, right, those rewards, the breast, the bottle, whatever it is, but then as we grow up, we earn those rewards. Our mother, we were good that day, let's go for ice cream, or you were really good, you can have a treat today. So we're taught these rewards. And here's the thing, listen, our parents didn't do this on purpose to ruin us and make us, on this yo-yo diet, but it was their little way of saying, I'm so proud of you, so let's feed that, that proudness, and then it becomes a psychological component to us. So, I know in the book you also mentioned that there's an element of this eating, right? This satisfying of eating with a connection to low self-worth. So how does that, and I'm sure this is a piece of it as well, so because when we feel down, stressed, you're beating yourself up usually, and then that's where I deserve a reward for it. So talk to us about that self-worth and this, the need to feed it, so to speak.
It is my contention that we have an epidemic of low self-esteem in this country, maybe around other English-speaking countries. I don't know a woman alive, personally, where I'd say, do you ever struggle with self-esteem? And she'd say, no, I'm fine with myself. I don't know anybody like that. Do you?
Yeah. No, I don't, and certainly not me.
Yeah. We all struggle with it at times, and, it's just part of life. But unfortunately, when we feel that lack of value, we want comfort and we want it now. And the easiest thing is food.
Yeah.
Because it's all
everywhere.
Around us.
Yeah.
It's available to us. It's what we were taught. And oral soothing works for a little while. And if we can find a way to separate food from the soothing part and find something else that actually does it, then we are much more likely to overcome it. I say it's not hard to overcome emotional eating. We just have to get the hang of it. And hang is an acronym. So the H is hungry. Are you hungry? Mm-hmm. If you are, go get something to eat. It's fine. But if you're not, the A is attraction. What is the attraction to food in that moment? The N is need. What is it that you actually need? Because sometimes we just need a hug. Or we may need to walk around the hallways for a minute just to kind of move that energy out. We may need to play with the dog. Whatever it is for you, then the G is go. Go get that, because that will soothe you so much more than food ever could. And it lasts. Whereas food only lasts as long as you have it in your mouth.
Yeah, and then it's gone. And it's funny because it's like a pattern interrupt. I had a stressful day, I'm going to have a piece of chocolate, boom, done, soothe, move on, right? And then a minute later, I'm still stressed out. Or
I
the
want
day,
sugar again.
I want that, you know what, that one piece didn't do it for me, I'm going to have another chocolate kiss now, right? Yeah. So then we overindulge. So it's literally the pattern interrupt of stopping and thinking, why do you want that candy? There's a catalyst, right? Why do you want that piece of pizza? Or why do you want the nuts? Why do you want the peanut butter? Whatever it is. And then, so it's that pattern interrupt. So we start thinking about why we act, what the need is, not just the satisfying component of food and mouth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, Connie, it's funny. Men, in particular, so consistently want ice cream. And they want it at night. It's the funniest thing. It's like, wow, this is really a pattern. And I talked to one guy, and he said, well, sometimes I just want to be a little bad. I've been good all day, so I want to have some ice cream. But what I realized is, many guys come up through the sports, Little League, all of that. And when they lose, they get taken out for ice cream. Or when mom and dad tell them we're getting a divorce, they take them for ice cream. So they associate that with, this will soothe me, this will make me feel better.
Yeah.
And I say, that's fine. That's fine. And whatever your food is, this is what I tell people to do. If you're going to honor that craving, give the food the same honor. So put out a placemat or tablecloth. Get a plate or a dish. Use a utensil, a fork, spoon, whatever it is. Sit down at your table, focus on that food, and enjoy it without the TV. Because if you're eating it in front of the TV, you're paying attention to the TV rather than the food.
That's right.
So pay close attention to this food. Let it feed you in whatever way you need, if that's what you choose. And if it doesn't work, you don't need to do that anymore. You need to find something else. But if you focus on it, it gives you the opportunity to be soothed by it. And if it doesn't soothe, well, you just wasted 300 calories. Do you want to do that again?
But once you identify that, if it's not the soothing thing that you're looking for, then it's easier to create the habit of walking away or to stop choosing that as the alternative for the soothingness. So this is, I guess, why diets fail, right? What do you see, or what do you think is the number one reason why diets really do fail, including everything we've just talked about?
I think diets fail because we stop doing them. Every diet that I went on in those 40 years, I would do for a period of time. Whether or not I actually hit my goal, I would get to a point and I think, I'm done with that. And then I would go back to eating the way I always had. We look at it as a short-term thing. You know, in my family, I have a family of eaters, right? So we would go on a diet, then lose some weight. Then we would go back to the way we ate before and gain it again, and then go back to the diet. And it was just that perpetual yo-yo, right?
Yeah.
Up and down. So if you take that diet and you learn from it, I look at it as training for what works for your body. Now, honestly, I lost my weight on a low-fat, low-calorie diet, and I was tired, hungry, and cranky all the time. But it worked. Except that 2 years later, I was still struggling to maintain my weight, and I was still tired, hungry, and cranky.
Yeah.
It worked, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I had to find a nutrition plan that would give me some energy while maintaining my weight. And once I did, it was easy because I got what I needed. I mean, we still have to pay attention to, you're 5'10", 5'11"?
I'm 5'11", yeah.
You're 5'11". I'm 5'3". This little body can only burn so many calories per day.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for an appropriate amount of calories to feed all the functions of my body and a satisfaction level. And then not overeating. Because when we overeat, it doesn't matter how tall you are. If you eat more than your body can burn,
Absolutely.
You're going to gain weight.
Absolutely.
No matter what diet you're on. So we have to find what works for us. And then it will work forever. Because I learned that, carbohydrates make me hungry. Sugar makes me hungrier. So when I kind of cut those things back, I wasn't nearly as hungry. I didn't get that hangry feeling where you just want to eat the house when you get home.
Yeah.
I get hungry now, but it's like, I'm hungry. I probably need to eat. Rather than, hey, I'm starving, I need to eat.
That's right. And then you walk in, cookie, chocolate, chips, whatever it is, quick piece of bread, whatever it is, we shove it in our mouth because we're starving, and you get to the point of hangry. 100% agree. So you talked about finding that nutritional balance for yourself. So example, the carbohydrates and sugar made you hungrier, right? So that immediately it's like, all right, warning, Robinson, I think I need to kind of cut that back, right? So talk to us about how you started to regain control and identify the things that weren't healthy for you, like obviously carbohydrates and sugar. Sugar is a no-no for everybody, yet it tastes so good. So like, how did you get control of all of that? Because I know people are saying, I understand, this is logical, this makes sense, but how the freak do you get it done, right? How do you do it?
Well, for me, I did a metabolic test. I found this, I think it was online metabolic test. It was $50. And it told me, these are the foods you need to eat. And it gave me a diet. And I was like, because it told me I needed more fat. Remember, I came from low fat. It said, and I was thinking, fat? Are you crazy? So I followed their diet for a week because I thought, well, it can't hurt. I was already at my goal weight. I lost 2 pounds.
Wow.
So everybody is different. And that's the thing. There is no one size fits all. So once I started incorporating, and it was basically a low carb kind of diet, but it worked for me. And, my cousin can't do it. It makes her ill.
Wow.
Right? And that's pretty close relationship. So everybody needs to find what works for their chemical storm. And then they'll be able to do it.
Now, do you discuss that piece in your book? Because I know, people are saying, oh, maybe her book has the answers for me. So does your book talk about the cravings and your body? Example, I know I have a friend, he played in the NHL, and he wanted to get to the next level. So he was on the third line. He wanted to get to the first and second line. So he read the book about blood type and eating. Mm-hmm. And when he changed his diet, he said he got moved up to that, that second row that comes out of the box to play. His wife, so carbohydrates were bad for him. He needed red meat. She needed, now his wife, again, right, different blood type, read it. She needed carbohydrates, which carbohydrates made him lethargic. So is that, so do you talk about that in your book, or what resources can you recommend for people listening?
Well, when I first read the Eat for Your Type, I misunderstood it. And I was talking to a doc friend of mine, and she said, have you read that book? I said, yeah, it doesn't make any sense because it tells me, and she said, what's your blood type? And I told her, she said, no, you didn't read that right. I was like, oh, oops, I messed that up. And my blood type suggests that I need more meat and fewer carbohydrates. So I'm not a nutritionist. I am a counselor. So I deal with the emotional part of it. I do have a chapter in the book on diet, and when I was talking to my editor, I was like, okay, here's what I want to put for this chapter. Pick one. And she said, that's not enough. I said, but that's about all I really know apart from just experience. She said, write your experience. Okay, fine. So I went back and did that. There is a little bit, but it's essentially find what works for your body, because what works for your chemical storm may not work for mine. My mother might have needed something different if she'd ever figured it out, bless her.
Yeah.
Everybody is different. Find what works for you. And that's trial and error. See how you feel after a meal. If that's not good for you, don't put it in your, people in particular have trouble with dairy. And usually they're lovers of Jesus, like, I can't give up dairy. Okay, then know you're going to have these things. I have to limit my dairy. If I have too much dairy, it just adds weight to my body. But a little bit is okay, right? Everybody's different. Find what works for you. As you're going through various diets, just kind of figure out, okay, this works for me or this doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I know, like, for example, if I eat a bagel, I become very lethargic. Where I have a cousin, he's very lean. He eats like 2 bagels a day. He needs it. So clearly his body processes the carbohydrate better.
Yes.
I do not. I need protein. I'm a protein-driven person. It's funny that you're saying the fat, because I try not to eat a lot of fat, and I think that's probably bad for joints and other things as well, right? Because our body still needs to be lubricated to some extent, I guess, with oils and stuff like that.
And it's good for your brain.
Yeah, and I know, like the bulletproof coffee and things like that, right? I know that, and I don't eat dairy. And it's funny because now later in life, dairy affects my stomach, where before it never did. So I just use almond milk, which I love. I love almond milk. It's a good alternative for me, for shakes and stuff like that. So I get what you're saying, this kind of experiment and play and test. If you eat a banana and you end up gaining the weight, then the banana doesn't work for you, or somebody else can eat 2 bananas because their body craves the potassium or whatever it is. So it really is a playing the game. And honestly, Renee, I think most people know what makes them feel and what makes them feel, oh, I feel pretty good after eating whatever it is. Cravings are another big thing, like you were saying, the nuts before. So what if you have that tremendous, overwhelming craving? How do you teach people, or how do you counsel people so that they can handle it and still be faithful to when they figure out what they should be doing, whatever their goals are, etc.? How do you handle that? Because that's real too.
Measure, right? I love pecans, and my mother-in-law, God bless her, has pecan trees. So I spent, I guess it was 4 months shelling pecans, and I came up with 44 pounds of pecans.
Wow.
It was great, right? So I love them, and they're very Moorish to me, because again, they have a connection with my grandmother. So I always measure, and you have to make that choice. Do I want to go over? Because if I have too many of them, then I will gain weight. But I can have the portion I can have, and I can enjoy every one of them, as long as I take the time to pay attention to it. So if there's something that you crave and you really want, find a way to include it in your diet, but do it wisely. Because just because you want it doesn't mean you need to have a ton of it. The more you focus on the food, pay attention while you're eating it. Because so often we just don't pay attention. And I say, okay, if you're going to swallow it whole, you may as well be eating celery, because you'll enjoy it just about as much. Celery has crunch.
Yeah.
Right? So find a way to include those things that you absolutely love, because it's not about deprivation. It's about finding the way that works for you to include what you love.
And it's true, because some people say, oh, I'm going to start my diet Monday, so I'm going to pig out all weekend because Monday everything stops. So I'm just going to pick it. Right. It's scarcity mentality. So they think I have to indulge all weekend. But what's going to change on Monday? You're still going to have the same cravings. So you really have to, exactly what you said, Renee, right? You have to kind of learn, say, okay, I really want that piece of chocolate. So have one Hershey Kiss and really savor it in your mouth and say, I'm satisfied. I'm good. My family teases me if they get donuts or something. And I go, no, I don't want it. No, thank you. And then they come and they go, and you're not getting a bite. Because this is exactly what I say to them. I go, I just one little bite. That's all I need is that one little bite. It satisfies me. So now or that one French fry, because I love French fries. I don't ever order French fries. I go, just one French fry. That's all I need. It'll satisfy my craving. And so they get mad. And then my niece's boyfriends now go, Aunt Con, are you going to just want that one bite? I go, I am. So just give me the bite right out of the gate, because that's all I need. But that's what we're really talking about, right? Is controlling, understanding. I think really understanding where it's coming from, the craving, but then create, like you said, at one bite, really chew, really enjoy the morsel, the flavor, the texture. And then when you swallow it, you don't need 10 more because you've already eaten that. I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I don't remember who he said this to. It was recently I read this. I think it was an actress, or I don't know. I don't remember who it was. But they were at a shoot, I guess, or a movie, and she ate whatever the thing was. And he said to her, took the bite, and he says, you can eat the rest of that? She was like, yeah, I don't want to waste food. And he said, the first bite is you want to taste, satiate, the texture, all of those things, and experience, right? He goes, anything after that is indulgence. And she stopped and thought, wow. And now she craves something. She has a bite and she says, the rest is indulgence. I don't need any more. So that's kind of that's pretty smart, right? That's in essence what you're saying right now.
Yeah, I often tell my clients, you can have 3 bites. Give yourself 3.
Yeah.
And then decide if you still want more, but take the time.
And think about it.
Yeah, and Connie, I even tell my clients, I give them a 3-day Mardi Gras at the beginning of whatever work we're doing together. And they can eat whatever they want for those 3 days, with the caveat that they have to enjoy it. Which means they have to focus on it. They have to taste it and feel the textures. And they have to do it at a table. No driving, no watching TV. Just focus on the food. You can have anything you want as long as you're focusing on it. And in the end, some of them do eat a lot more than they will later. But most of them begin to realize, oh, I haven't been tasting my food. I just swallow it. That makes a difference.
See, again, it's thinking. We eat mindlessly. We eat and we respond. We don't think about, why do I crave it? How much do I need to eat? Am I still tasting this food? It's almost a habitual thing. The bag of chips, I'm going to eat the whole bag of chips. When it's done, and then I'll stop. It's done now. So put other triggers in place is what I'm understanding. Is that a good way to look at it?
Yeah.
The measurements, different measurements, different triggers. It's observation. It's awareness, right? It's that implementation of using logic, using your brain, and not just, the habit of eating. So create different habits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I recall this moment. I used to love Reese's peanut butter cups. Me and my nan, we were all over those. So
the peanut butter for you.
Oh,
yeah.
So this one Easter, I bought 2 bags, one for me and one for my husband, because that's the perfect chocolate peanut butter ratio.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I said, right, I'm actually going to taste them this year. And I sat down at the table and I cut it into pieces, like 6 pieces. So they're a little bitty. And my husband was sitting there watching this process, and I put a piece in my mouth. And I thought, that's not what I remember it being. Oh. And I had another bite, and I thought, this is not good. So I gave him my bag, and I haven't had one since.
So it was the emotional connection to the food, not the food itself, because it was a nice memory about your grandma.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
see?
that, and I have upgraded my chocolate game. And when you have food that is greater quality, better quality, it sometimes awakens your palate in ways that you're unaccustomed to.
Yeah.
So you go back to something that's a little more mass-produced. It's like, that's just not the same.
Yeah, tastes chemically or whatever. Like I love milk chocolate, don't get me wrong, but I really enjoy dark chocolate. And a little piece, because to me it's much richer for some reason. So that one little piece of dark chocolate with a glass of wine, by the way, that to me is the most decadent treat of and before I was laughing, you were saying your one client said, I'm not giving up dairy, I have to have my cheese. And you're like, well, okay, just modify. Like, I can't give up my wine. So, but now, do I overindulge and drink a bottle of wine? No. But do I like my glass of wine on a Friday night with dinner? Yes, I do. I enjoy it. And it's a funny thing, because there isn't maybe an emotional connection to this, but I truly love the taste of wine. When I was a little girl, my dad would come home. He worked long hours, of course. So he would come home and we would really be in our PJs and getting ready for bed. And he would sit, and my dad is from Italy. So my mom would make him weird food. We thought it was weird food, like brains and things like that. But I was always curious. So I would say, oh, can I have a bite, Dad? And he'd say, sure. And my dad would have a juice glass, a little 4-ounce juice glass, and he would have half filled with his red wine. And I would always say, ooh, I was a little girl, can I taste? Sure. I'd have my little sip, and I'd be like, ooh, it tastes funny, it tastes funny. Well, fast forward, when I finally got into high school and we would go, to parties and everybody was drinking, they would drink like the Boone's Farm wine. And I remember going to my first party as a kid, and they're like, oh, do you want? I'm like, oh, yeah, I love wine. I tasted it, Renee. I thought, oh, like, what is this? This isn't wine. It was putrid. So I became the designated driver because we couldn't afford anything better. And I thought, well, I'm not drinking that crap. So I was happy with my water, club soda, and I was always the designated driver because I could have gone home and had a real good glass of wine, with my dad and enjoyed it, right? I truly enjoyed it. So fast forward, we still buy, Italian and French wine without pesticides in it. And you could smell, the flavoring and the berries and the manures sometimes. We like good wine. So, yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It's better for you.
Right? And this is interesting really quick, and our time is up, but I, always drinking French and Italian wine, no pesticides, because the farmers there, they're farmers. They don't use pesticides. It's all more natural, but they don't label it organic. And then my cousin came in from California, and she's like, oh, you guys are going to love this wine. It was New Year's Eve. And I had literally, a glass of wine with dinner, my wine that I always bring, my Italian wine, and then I had a sip. I go, oh, let me taste it. I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. The next day, I had one glass of wine and then this couple of sips of hers. I had a raging headache, and I said to my husband, wow, I had one glass of wine. Like, this is crazy. And he said, California wine, I bet it had pesticides in it. No, I cannot drink California wine now because it gives me a raging headache. So you see, your body knows what it needs, right, Renee?
Yes, absolutely. Your body knows what it needs if we just listen to it.
If we would just listen to it, and I don't think we're very good at doing that. So everybody, first of all, I hope that you have been inspired by our conversation today, and hopefully it gives you something to pay attention to. So here's the tip really from Renee. Is pay attention every time you go to put something in your mouth. Why are you eating at that moment, and why are you eating what you're eating, right? Make sure you're choosing wisely. Also, highly recommend Renee's book. It's called What's Really Eating You, and I will post that in the show notes as well. And one more thing I just want to give, if you guys need a little bit more Renee in your life, because I do like your approach, Renee. I think it's logical, and I like that idea of that pattern interrupt. You're telling us use your brain, right? Instead of using habit and craving, use your brain. So check it out. Go to Renee's website, which is, I love the name of this, packyourownbag.com, and they can email you, Renee. Can I share that?
Absolutely.
If you have questions specific to Renee, maybe something you're struggling with, and maybe the book won't answer it, but you need a little Renee time, go to Renee at packyourownbag.com. Also, you have a video of an exercise called the Compass, right, which helps clarify goals and provides a mechanism for focus. Go to packyourownbag.com/friends. You want to just tell everybody what that is real quick before we sign off?
Sure. Sometimes we need a compass when we're lost. So it helps you to identify the thing that will help you get to your goal.
Cool.
It creates a compass for you.
Cool. I love that. I'm a visual learner. That makes so much sense, right? Because people are saying, I understand what you're saying, but how? What's that next step? Here's the compass, and it'll guide you. Beautiful. I love it. You guys, if you need more Connie Whitman in your life, which I hope you always do, go to my website, whitmanassociates.com. Guys, everything is there. The podcast is there. Free resources are there. My free communication style assessment is there. My ESP, my Easy Sales Process Masterclass, free downloads. It's all there in one place for you. So go to whitmanassociates.com. You can send me a note too. I love to hear from you. But check it out. Again, I have a ton of free resources. You know I love giving stuff away and inspiring you guys to make changes in your personal and professional life. That's why I have wonderful guests like Renee on the show. Renee, thank you so much for being on and sharing your wisdom and giving us a way to make better choices so that we get off the diet yo-yo roller coaster and just think about what we're doing going forward, and then you can regain control over weight and health and all those things. Really, that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line. Thanks for having me.
Oh, a real pleasure. Thank you so much. And you guys, I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together. No matter what change you're going through, whether it's on the professional or personal side, we kind of have to be whole and healthy to be able to create the life that we desire and really support the people in our lives, whether they're clients or family. So I hope the tips today and our conversation helps. And I really hope that you open your mind to what's possible. Today, the topic was food and habits and the cravings. So start to think about what's possible in your life. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Renee. Have a great week, everybody.